Well, good day, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Really been looking forward to this video. It's a different video. It's one that I've never made before. And, it's a bit of a sequel in some sorts to a video that was made on TikTok a couple of years ago. And basically, who I'm about to introduce you in a moment, this man has never watched a game of rugby league in his life before. He's over there from Western Australia, where it's obviously very prominent for the AFL rather than the NRL. There's a few other sports that are popular over there, the main one being the AFL. And what I got him to do on TikTok was I got him to predict the name of players. And I don't have the video here with me. I'm trying to actually find that video. But, you were calling, I think, James Tedesco, Phil. You were calling, there were some strange names there. And, mate, in this video, I'm sure you're nervous because you've got 17 teams that you know absolutely nothing about. But in this video, you're going to be ranking them from 17 to first for the 2024 season. And we're going to look back on this at the end of the year. Are you excited?
I'm excited, but also very nervous. Like you said, I know nothing. Even the team names, I was going through them yesterday and trying to prepare myself a little bit. I know about 3, 4. I literally, I'm so clueless about it.
Hey, well, knowing 3 or 4 is better than knowing none. And as this video goes on, I'll obviously give you tips. I won't sway your decision, but I'll tell you where that team finished last year. There's some tips that I can tell you about the top 4, top 8. There's some things that seem to happen every year. A team that makes the top 4 seems to drop out of that top 4 the next year, at least one of those teams. 2 teams that have made the top 8 in the previous year have then gone on to kind of miss the top 8, and teams that are outside of the top 8 seem to make it. So, yeah, it all changes. I can't find that video, but I will try and include the link in the comments so you guys can see just how funny it was when Liam created these names of NRL players that clearly was not their real name, as you guys know. But, guys, massive Doctor Who fan. I'm a massive Doctor Who fan. This channel actually started with a bit of Doctor Who reviews, reactions, trailers. I still remember winning a giveaway of his, it was a Doctor Who Series 10 Part 2 on Blu-ray. But please give it up for my special guest tonight, which is Hoovian Comley, and check out Liam Comley over on Instagram. What else can we find you on?
Mainly Instagram, and then, my YouTube channel, which I'm trying to be more active now. But literally, as you said, you and I met through Doctor Who on YouTube.
We've never met in person, which I want to do.
Yeah, and that's literally how we met. But Instagram and YouTube for sure. That's pretty much. Oh, and TikTok as well. Hoovian Comley on TikTok. But other than that, yeah.
Perfect. All right, well, let's get straight into this. I was trying to once again find that video for you, but I can't find it. At some point, maybe towards the end of the video, I'll find it. But let's get into it. We're going to be ranking 17 teams. I have got the ladder from the 2023 season here. And the first team on this list, guys, is the Brisbane Broncos. Now, the Brisbane Broncos actually were really, really good last year, Liam. They finished second out of 17. They were a team that went to the grand final. They led the Panthers in the grand final, went on to lose that game. So they're looking for a bit of a redemption arc this season. However, 2 of their great players in Keenan Palasia, Herbie Farnworth, and even Kurt Capewell, another big one for the club, have left. So they've lost a few of their signings, which a lot of people worry. Will they drop down the ladder? Will they remain in the top 4? The Broncos are from Brisbane, obviously Queensland. Where do you think the Brisbane Broncos finish in 2024?
So this is one of the teams that I know briefly of, and I know I have heard in the grapevine on the news and things last year that they did well. So I reckon I'm going to go 1 to 4, maybe. Yeah.
So they're going to go back into the top 4 this season. Yeah. And towards the end of the video, guys, we'll work out the exact order if he wants to switch around and thinks, I might switch those 2. But right now, the Brisbane Broncos fans will be happy that they get themselves a top 4 spot. Now, the next team, which is probably another one that you've heard of, because how can you escape the success that they have achieved in recent years? It is the Panthers from Penrith. They are chasing their 4th straight grand final win. They are the first team to win 3 grand finals in a row since the Parramatta Eels in the 1980s. Again, like the Broncos, they lose a couple of players this season. They lose Zach Hosking. They lose Jamin Salmon off the bench, and they lose a big one, Stephen Crichton, who's been one of their best players for years. But they've still got, Nathan Cleary. They finished first 3 straight seasons, going on to win the premiership. Do they fall off, or do they continue that great run of form? How do you see the Penrith Panthers in 2024?
3 years in a row. Maybe 4. Like I'm gonna put them in the top 4 as well, I reckon.
Yeah. Right now, are you putting them above the Broncos or below them?
Above for now, based on what you've told me. I reckon above.
All right, so there you go. The Penrith Panthers and the Brisbane Broncos now are grand final teams from last year out of the way, and this is where the video definitely will get tough for you. But let's start off with the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Now, the Dragons finished 16th out of 17 last season. It was a very disappointing season for the St. George Illawarra Dragons. However, they have now acquired a great new coach. This coach was a grand final winner just 8 years ago. They haven't really had any key signings. They've made a couple of signings that could boost their pack. But obviously, they will want to wipe off last year. Little fact for you as well, it is the Chinese year of the Dragon if you think they're going to be a top 4 team. I know a lot of people have them outside of the top 8, but where do you see the St. George Illawarra Dragons after finishing second last season?
See, I can't judge these one too much. I don't know. This is one of the teams I've never heard of. Maybe like as you mentioned, like a new coach, that might help. Like that might be beneficial to them. I'm going to go 9 to 12 in that area for now. Yeah.
All right, so a bit of a rise there for the Dragons fans. I've predicted them to come 15th this season, so still better than 16th. But there we go. We're in the 9 to 12 bracket right now. All right, let's move into the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys are from North Queensland. 2 years ago, they were 1 game away from a grand final. They were actually my tip to be in the grand final last year pre-season, but the season just didn't go for them. They never really started playing good footy, and they finished in 11th place out of 17 teams. So they were very disappointing. There's not really any, key signings to them to boost them this year. I personally think they will be back in the fold, and I think they'll be back in the top 8. A lot of people have them outside the top 8 and say they're not the team that they once were. But the North Queensland Cowboys, they were the premiers back in 2015. Where do you think the North Queensland Cowboys finished for the 2024 season?
I reckon I'm going to put them for now just above the Dragons. Is that what they're called? Dragons? Yeah.
So the Cowboys in that 9 to 12 range, missing out on the top 8, but they finish higher than the Dragons?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. The Cowboys fans will be coming for you as you do have them outside of the top 8. Now we move into the Sharks. Now, the Sharks are from Cronulla. They have a star halfback who's actually from where I am, the Central Coast. Nico Hines has played fantastic football. The Sharks are a team that seem to consistently make finals. They're always in the top 8. However, they never do anything with it. They never go any further than week 1 of the final. Last season, they finished 6th for the season, which is not too bad, but they were a top 4 team the year before. This is a team I have outside of the 8, but I know a lot of people still have them, either just outside or just within. How do you see the Cronulla Sharks?
Well, like you said, they usually are in the top 8. Have there been much interchange with players or coaches or anything?
They've had their coach now. This will be his 3rd year for this particular coach. There hasn't really, from what I think, there is a player who was there for a long time, who was there for at least 8 years, has now gone into retirement. But I still think they've got a decent side. I think I personally had them in 10th.
I'm going to go number 8 for now.
All right, so we're going to go in that 5 to 8, and the Cronulla Sharks seem to find themselves once again playing finals football here. Now we move into the Titans. Now this is actually the Titans are somehow here twice on this, so we'll have to pretend that the other team, when it comes to it, when we work out who it is, it looks like someone's forgotten to include the Rabbitohs. So we'll get to that later. But the Gold Coast Titans, now they finished the season 14 from 17. In 2021, they made the finals, so they were in the top 8. They are a team that haven't really made the top 8, especially in recent years. They've had some decent signings, but nothing X factor. They've got some really good players when it comes to Origin. These players, are off to play for Origin Queensland duties, which makes it a bit tougher for the team. I've got them having a good year, but a lot of people have them around that 9 to 12 range kind of thing. Where do you have the Gold Coast Titans?
I reckon I'm going to put them in 9 to 12 again. I reckon right just behind the Cowboys.
So you think like this or like this?
Yeah, behind the Cowboys. Opposite way, yeah.
Like that way?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. So the Cowboys finishing above the Titans there. It's silly that we don't have the Rabbitohs here, but I've taken this from Tiermaker, so I do apologise, Rabbitohs fans, when I call you Titans shortly. All right. Next up is the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, this is a team from the Northern Beaches. They have one of the best players in the NRL. Arguably, when he's fit, he is so hard to stop. His name is Tom Trbojevic. Now, Manly had a disappointing season last year. They finished in 12th. Again, he is very prone to injury. He has had 5 injuries in the last 7 years, which is really, really disappointing. They've made some good signings over the offseason, and they look like a tough team to beat. I have them in 9th. I know a lot of people have this team within their top 8, but there's also some people that have their doubts and think they'll be towards the bottom. Where do you think the Manly Sea Eagles finish in 2024?
I'm thinking with you. I'm thinking in that 9 to 12 ratio.
Yep.
Where exactly? Maybe just behind the Titans, I reckon.
So you think it goes Cowboys, Titans, Manly, Dragons?
Yeah.
Okay, so 9, 10, 11, 12. You can't pick another team now unless you want to swap with them. For that 9 to 12, you've locked it in. We've got 2 of the teams in the top 4, and we've got a couple spots left in the finals and still no pick for last place. So next up, we've got the Roosters. Now, the Sydney Roosters have been a very promising team for the last couple of seasons. However, nothing's come of that promise. Much like the Sharks, they don't really go too deep into the finals, and they are a little bit disappointing when you start the season, considering the team that they have. Last season, they finished the season with 7th. They've made 2 very key signings, and they've got arguably one of the best coaches in the NRL. Where do you think the Sydney Roosters finish in 2024 with all this expectation?
Considering all the expectation, I reckon 5 to 8 ratio. Yeah, maybe in front of the team I've got there.
So you think they finish around 5th at the moment, like above the Sharks?
Yeah.
Or 7th at the moment, actually, technically, because you did have the Sharks, I think, in 8th. But there you go. The Sydney Roosters, once again, making the final. Great squad. I'll be very surprised if they miss out on the top 8. I think I have them in 4th in my predictions. All right. Now, this is a tough one. The Melbourne Storm. Now, this is a team you've absolutely heard of because for years, they have been the team to beat. Now it's the Penrith Panthers. The Melbourne Storm have the best coach in the NRL, arguably, but I think Craig Bellamy is on another level. They've lost a few players over the years, but they've still got such a great squad. Even last year, they finished in 3rd position, and they didn't have the best of years. They're a team that consistently makes the top 4. I personally have them out of the top 4 this season. I think they're losing a little bit of their mojo, to say, but it also could be a massive year for their coach being his last season. And little fact for you as well, they take on the Panthers in round 1, which is going to be a tough game. And the Melbourne Storm in 20 years have never, ever lost round 1. Where do the Melbourne Storm finish? Do they drop off, or do they stay this hot team that we've seen for years and years?
See, I'm thinking the 1 to 4, but then I'm like, do I want to risk it if there's another team coming up? I'm like, oh no.
Well, you can swap. You can swap later on.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go 1 to 4 for now.
Yep.
Based on what you told me, probably 2nd. Yeah.
So the Panthers, and then the Storm, and then the Broncos in that order at the moment.
Yeah.
There you go. Big season from the Melbourne Storm coming up, according to Liam's predictions there. All right. Next up, we've got the Newcastle Knights. This is obviously Newcastle. The Knights went on a massive run last season. Now, they finished the season in 5th, which is absolutely incredible considering the start that they had to the year. Now, I actually predicted this team to come last in 2023, so aren't I stupid? They made a great run into the finals, but it came to an end at the Warriors. They went on an 8 or 9 game win streak as well. They do lose a very important player who scores a lot of tries for them. They've still got a great squad. Their coach was kind of job on the line last year. They've now turned that around, and I think they've re-signed him. So long term, they're looking better. 5th last year. Do they drop, which is what I'm predicting? Do they rise, like a lot of people are predicting? Where do you think the Newcastle Knights will finish in 2024?
I'm also thinking like the 5 to 8 ratio. Not quite 5th. I think they'll drop a little bit. So round about there, I reckon.
There?
Yep, that's it.
There we go. So that might be 8th position then, and the Sharks rising to 7th based off that one. All right, let's imagine here that we have a South Sydney Rabbitohs logo because someone decided they loved the Titans and put this twice. It was probably BKR Sport, but the Rabbitohs, they are a team from South Sydney. They have consistently made the finals for years, and last year something happened and the Rabbitohs fell off a cliff. They finished outside of the top 8 in 9th. No one would have seen it coming. They were the ladder leaders for the first. They were first in May and just dropped off drastically. Still have a great team. They've had a great acquisition this season in Jack Whiten, a great player to them. They start off the season in Las Vegas Sunday. The season starts in Vegas round 1 with the Rabbitohs heading over there. South Sydney fans will be looking to bounce back in the top 8, but a lot of people still think they'll be outside the top 8. Where do you have the South Sydney Rabbitohs?
See, I'm thinking 5 to 8, then I'm like, do I save that spot for someone else? But I'm going to put them above the Knights, I reckon, just above the Knights for now.
So above the Knights that way?
Yeah, I have heard of the Rabbitohs as well.
All right. Remember that is the Rabbitohs because I'm going to lose my shit soon. All right. Now we've got the New Zealand Warriors. This is obviously the only team that is international in the NRL. The Warriors are a team that are very inconsistent. Now, they played finals in 2018. They played finals in 2023. There was a 5-year gap. They have a strong squad coming into this season, and there is massive expectation for this team. Now, I am getting a lot of hate because I've got the Warriors coming 13th in this season, which a lot of people wouldn't predict. They arguably had the best player on form in the NRL last year in Sean Johnson. The Warriors also welcome back someone who was so crucial to their team from 2018, 2019, coming back after all these years in rugby union. Where did the New Zealand Warriors end up after finishing 4th last year?
I'm with you at the moment. I'm thinking 13. As you said, like inconsistent a little bit. I'm thinking maybe they'll keep that up. I don't know, but I'm thinking 13 as well.
All right, we'll see if it changes. But at the moment, we both have the Warriors there towards the bottom, and I'm hopeful that they have a great year, guys. I'm not saying that I hope they have a shocking year, but I just think the consistency is such an issue. And if they lose players to injuries, then I don't think they have the depth. Next up, we've got the Canberra Raiders. Now, the Canberra Raiders have made finals consistently for a number of years. They've been very, very good at being a finals team. Now, they finished 8th last year, and let me just say that they were the only team to have minus 137, which basically means their for and against was absolutely awful. You've got teams like the Rabbitohs, the Eels, the Cowboys, who had positive for and against, and they were outside of the top 8. But somehow the Raiders were able to scrape in and get more wins than them and make the top 8. Now, the Raiders lose 2 very important players. They lose Jack Whiten, who's been there for a number of years now, and they lose Jared Croker, who was a big part of their club and a massive part of goal kicking, which is where the points come from as well. Where do you think the Canberra Raiders finished this year after consistently making final? A lot of people think this team's due for a bit of a drop-off, but they always seem to surprise.
I'm also thinking 13 to 17. So I'm putting behind the Warriors for now. I might have to shift them around
When you say behind, do you mean like that or like that?
Like that.
Like that? Okay, cool. Well, I think of in front of, but I know what you mean in regards to the way that we're doing it of number ranking. All right. Next up, we've got the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins don't actually have a name. A lot of people call them Redcliffe, which is another Queensland team. The Dolphins actually only came into the NRL last season, so it was their first season, which is very hard to obviously judge off. They go into this season acquiring some good new players, a little bit of expectation around the club, still missing out on some positions, but have shown promise to start last year that they can be a decent team potentially in 2024. I have them fairly low. I think I have them around 14th. A lot of people have them around that 7th spot, but the Dolphins are looking to end a fantastic career of coaching potentially for Wayne Bennett, who's been one of the best coaches in the NRL. I personally think he's the best coach I've seen alive, at least in the NRL. Where do you think the Dolphins finish in 2024?
I'm going to give them a bit of a chance and put them just in front of the Warriors in the 13 to 17 mark.
All right, so they're going to be around that Warriors part, and they're going to be here?
Yeah.
All right, so the Warriors finishing lower than the Dolphins there. All right, next up is the West Tigers. Now, the West Tigers have not been in the top 8 since 2013. It has been 11 years since the Tigers had a taste of finals postseason football. They've made some great signings in the last 2 years. Some of them haven't lived up to the hype, but some of them have looked good. One of their best all-time players in Benji Marshall has taken over now as their head coach, which will be really interesting to see how he goes coaching in his first year. This team has come 17th back-to-back years, 2022 and 2023, last place. They're looking to bounce back. Can they do it? Where do the West Tigers end up this season?
As you said, 17th few years in a row. I'm going to put them in that area again. Whether they are 17th or not, I don't know, but I'm putting them in that spot for now.
So they're staying at the bottom for now. Well, we've got 2 teams left, and looks like we have one of these teams in 13 to 17 and one of these teams in 1 to 4. Now, the team that is coming up next is a team that, again, consistently was playing finals football. 2017, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, went to the grand final in 2022, lost, had a bit of a grand final headache, and missed out on the top 8 last year. Same kind of squad as last year. They finished in 10th, and that is the Eels from Parramatta. Can they bounce back, or are they going to be around that bottom area again, Liam?
I'm thinking, I don't think, from what you told me, I don't think top 4. I reckon they're going to be maybe just in front of the Dolphins.
So here?
Yeah.
All right. This is a good time to tell you as well that I am actually a Parramatta Eels supporter. So I'm really, really hoping for a big year from these boys. I've got them in 6th, but a lot of people have this team around 10th. It seems to be the average spot on where they are. Now, this must mean, Liam, unless we need to change a team, that the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, who have finished 15th last year, have acquired that player that I was mentioning that left the Penrith Panthers, which is Stephen Crichton, will find themselves in the top 4 this season. Now, I'm going to give you a stat here because you're probably thinking, oh, this team's crap. What have I done? Well, you might be onto something. Every year that ends in the year 4, the Bulldogs have made the grand final. 84, 94, 2004, 2014, and 2024. They have also gone on to win the grand final every 20 years that they make the grand final. So 2004, they won. 2014, They lost. And 2024, here we go, 10 years later for the Bulldogs. You know, they look a little bit disappointing in the trials, but that's the trials and the season ahead of them. It's going to be an interesting one. I've given you all the stats there. The other one to mention is that the last team to win 3 grand finals in a row was the Eels of the 80s. And who won the grand final the last time a team won 3 in a row? It was the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. So lots of stats. I personally don't trust the stats. I've got them in 12th. You look like you've got them in 4th, or in the top 4 at least. Where are you putting the Dogs?
I don't think 1 and 2. I'm tossing up between 3. I'm thinking 4th. Yeah.
All right, so we're thinking the Dogs 4th right now. They're a top 4 team. All right, so let's have a little bit of a look at this ladder and then decide our grand final. So this would be, so the Sydney Roosters you've currently got in 5th. Would you like to change the spot in which you have the Sydney Roosters?
So you've gone straight to them. So I'm like, is he hinting at something that I should? No, I'm gonna leave it.
So we're locking them in at 5th, because I'll get up how the teams play the finals, which will decide your grand final. Now we've got the Sharks based off this in 6th. Are you happy with the Sharks? You know, again, like I said, seem to make finals but do nothing with it. Do you think they're in 6th place, or do you want to push them down, push them up? It's up to you.
I'm going to swap it with the Rabbit. Is it the Rabbitohs next to them? Yeah.
So the Rabbitohs, you want the Rabbitohs next to the Roosters, and the Rabbitohs in 6th and the Sharks in 7th?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the final spot in the top 8. So obviously, if you want the Knights out of here and you want another team in here, you let me know. But right now, you've got the Newcastle Knights in 8th position.
No, I'm leaving them there. I'm confident.
Leaving them there. So that's the top 8, guys. Panthers, Storm, Broncos, Dogs, Roosters, Rabbitohs, Sharks, Knights. That's a pretty good top 8. Other than, the Bulldogs. Obviously, there's stats there for them. But I really like that top 8. It's a very doable. This video could come true. Now, 9th spot, just missing out on the top 8. You've got the North Queensland Cowboys. Are you happy with where they are, or do you want to put them lower?
See, I was thinking maybe swapping them with the Titans, but no, I might leave it.
Going to leave them? All right. You've said it. The Gold Coast Titans, you've got them in 10th position. Do you want to push them down? Do you want to put them up? What do you want to do with the Titans?
No, I'm going to leave them there, yeah.
Happy with them in 10th? All right. 11th position. You've got the Manly Sea Eagles.
If anything, I feel like they should be swapped around and like a little bit lower.
So you think the Dragons above the Sea Eagles?
Yeah.
All right. So the Dragons in 11th spot, and the Sea Eagles at the moment at least in 12th. Is there any of these teams from 13 to 17 that you want to swap with the Sea Eagles?
See, I was thinking the Warriors, but I might leave them there. I might swap them with the Dolphins, but I might leave them in the 13 and 17.
Wait, so you want the Dolphins in Manly spot?
No, so I want the Warriors and the Dolphins swapped around.
So the Warriors and the Dolphins here, Warriors to finish higher than the Dolphins.
Yeah.
All right, so that is the 12 teams there. Now, 13th, you've got my team. What are you doing to me? The Parramatta Eels. You think they finish in 13th this year?
So I'm thinking I might put them in 12th instead.
Okay. So you want to put them there and Manly there? Okay. Yep. So you've got Manly now in 13th. Any lower, or that's where they're staying?
No, I reckon that's where they're going to stay, yeah.
All right, then you've got the New Zealand Warriors, a massive drop-off this season compared to what the expectation was. You're happy to put them in 14th and get all the hate in the world, like me?
Yeah.
Yep. Then you've got the Dolphins. So these are the bottom 4 teams. You've got the Dolphins, their second year of NRL. They might have a bit of a second-year syndrome and drop off under a great coach.
Yeah, I'm sticking them there, yeah.
Yep. And then second last, you've got the Canberra Raiders dropping off. Do you want to switch any of these teams around, or you're happy with that final three? And then the West Tigers once again coming last.
I'm happy with them. Yeah.
You're happy with them? Well, mate, I've actually got the Raiders coming in last, in my opinion. So we both have that team falling off drastically. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to decide your grand final. Now, I've got the way that this would work. So, based off your teams here, you would have the Penrith Panthers at home at Penrith taking on the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. And my God, this will be so good to see those Panthers players that have left and joined the Bulldogs take on their old club. Now, who wins this game between the Panthers and the Bulldogs?
Well, I see you've talked up the Panthers a bit based on the statistics and stuff you told me. I'd like, as you said, like every 20 years the Bulldogs win. So I'd like to think that they'll have it this year. That's the only thing that's like making me think maybe they'll do it.
But well, the thing, yeah.
I don't know. I'm just thinking. I'm going with the Panthers. I think
the Panthers. Yep.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing as well, just so you know, if a team finishes in the top 4, they actually get a second chance. So the Bulldogs will play another team in week 2 of the finals, which I'll get to. The second one would be second versus third, and this is where you would have the Storm taking on the Broncos. This would be at Melbourne, based off your prediction.
Okay. I'm going to go the Broncos, I reckon.
All right, so we've got the Broncos winning week 1 in that one in Melbourne. Now we've got an elimination. So whoever you pick here advances. Whoever you don't pick, their season comes to an end. And you've got the Sydney Roosters taking on the Newcastle Knights.
I reckon.
Take a photo so I remember the order for you. Yeah.
Let's go the Roosters. Yeah.
So the Roosters to advance and eliminate the Knights. Yep. And then we've got the last battle of week 1, which would be 6th versus 7th, and you'd have the Rabbitohs taking on the Cronulla Sharks, and this would be in South Sydney.
We'll go the Rabbitohs, yeah, because
Rabbitohs there.
All right. I don't know the Sharks.
So this would mean that week 1, week 2, the loser of the first qualifying final, which would be the Bulldogs, would take on the winner of the first semi-final. And the first semi-final winner was the Roosters. So you'd have the Bulldogs and the Roosters. Only one of these teams can go through to one game away from the grand final.
I'm going to go the Bulldogs.
Yeah. You're going to go the Roosters to be eliminated and the Bulldogs to be one win away from the grand final. All right.
It's a 20-year thing. It's good. I'm giving them. I got hope.
All right, and then you'd have the loser of the second qualifying final go up against the winner of the second. Now that would mean that you would have the Melbourne Storm once again at home, Melbourne hosting the Rabbitohs.
I'm going to stick with the Rabbitohs, I think.
Rabbitohs, Melbourne Storm eliminated. Season is done, and that means that 4 teams remain. Now, you would have in week 1, the team that won in week 3, the team that won week 1, which was the Panthers, taking on the winner of the second semi-final, and that would be Panthers versus Rabbitohs, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just trying to work out the maths now. Is that right? I think that's right. Hopefully that's right, guys. But the Panthers versus the Rabbitohs, only one of these teams can go to the grand final.
I'm going to stick with the Panthers, I think. Yeah.
The Panthers go to the grand final for the 5th year in a row. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right. And the team that's taking on the Panthers is the winner of the second qualifying takes on the winner of the first. This would mean that the Brisbane Broncos taking on the Bulldogs for a spot in the grand final.
Oh, I see the Broncos. I'm like, based on what you told me, I'm like they're pretty good. But then it's the 20-year thing again. I'm like superstitious about it now. But I'm gonna stick with the Broncos, I think.
All right, so Liam's grand final is a rematch of the 2023 grand final between the Brisbane Broncos and the Penrith Panthers. This game went right down to the wire. It was a 2-point victory to the Panthers to win their third straight premiership. Is it Broncos time, or even though they've lost their players, are the Penrith Panthers going to win it all again?
No, I'm going Panthers. I'm sticking with
The
the Panthers.
Panthers. Well, there we go. That is your ladder. That is your grand final. That is your prediction. You've picked the Penrith Panthers to win it, who, you've heard about them, but you don't know too much about league. But you've picked a very good team there. Bulldogs fans will be very happy. Parramatta fans won't be very happy with that position, including myself. Melbourne Storm fans will be happy that you've got, some expectation for them there. But there you go, guys. That's his predictions. And I hope you guys have had a ton of fun watching this, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, Liam.
Thanks for having me. Like I said, I knew nothing, but we'll see how we go. We'll see how it turns out.
Well, the season comes to an end in October. It starts this Sunday, comes to an end in October, and we'll be recording and going through this, and we'll either be going, oh my God, you got that right. You were superstitious and it worked out. Or we'll be covering our hands laughing at Liam in October, won't we? But once again, check him out on TikTok, check out his Instagram, and check out the Hoovie and Comley YouTube channel, especially if you are a Doctor Who fan. But if you just enjoy some content, then check him out.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
No, pleasure's mine. All right, guys, make sure you do subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Plenty of content coming as the NRL season kicks off this week, including my Vegas tips. It's been fantastic to make this. And let us know your predictions in the comments below. And I'll see you guys later.